Welcome, everybody who is joining us this evening. My name is Jennifer Foff, and I'm the president of the Burlingame Historical Society. And this evening, we are doing something really fun for us, and I hope for you as well. We are conducting an interview of Cathy Foxhoven, who has been a community member and one of our board members for a very long time. And she has all kinds of wonderful stories of her activities in Burlingame. And we're kind of turning the tables on her because she has been conducting our oral histories for probably a dozen years and interviewing a number of community members of Hillsborough and Burlingame. And so we want to have something. Cathy's going to be leaving us, unfortunately, in the summer. Fortunately, maybe for her, but unfortunately for us. And we would like to have something from her tangible and kind of a record of what she did. And so we're turning the tables on her tonight and asking her about all her activities and what she did. And she has some great stories. So before we start, you see in front of you, I hope, or those who can actually see something, so many of you are on the phone. It's a photo of a young Cathy, I think very young, on a ranch, a sheep ranch in Wyoming, and she's got two adorable sheep with her. And I just wanted Cathy to tell us a little bit about this, and also how she got interested, or when she realized that drama would be a part of her life.
Well, those sheep are lambs.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's okay. What we used to do is my father would always give me some lambs and the children, and we would raise them by feeding them milk in bottles, and then they would wag their little tails. So, and then at the end of the summer, we would sell the lambs back to him. And I don't want to tell you what happened to him after that. But those were our lambs at the ranch, which is right on the border of Wyoming and Idaho. So,
Well, tell us a little bit about, well, you came from a large family, I think you mentioned, and you're Basque heritage, right?
yes, my father and my mother, Mary and Gaston Caricaburo, came to the United States, and my father married my mom here in the United States, and they lived in a sheep camp when they first got married, and then they ended up buying the ranch, and that's where 7 of us all grew up. But actually, there were 9 of us because my mom raised 2 of her sister's children because she had died of leukemia. And so there were really 9 of us in the family. It was a big family, but I was next to the youngest.
So enough to man a whole farm, a whole ranch, really. That's pretty amazing. I forgot to say something. I'm sorry. Joanne is our manager this evening with the Zoom, and she has muted all of you until the end. And I'll give people a chance to ask questions or comment if they like. So I didn't want people to wonder what was going on, but you will need to indicate, I guess, with your hand through chat or some other method. We'll figure that out when we get there. So again, Cathy, tell me, at what point in your life did you realize that drama, theater was of interest to you?
It was right there at the ranch. I was sitting on a grain bin, singing at the top of my lungs, and the dogs started howling at me. And I decided, the sheepdogs, that it was time for me to maybe get some training so that the dogs wouldn't howl. So I went to college in Los Angeles to Immaculate Heart College. And by the way, Immaculate Heart College um, is the college that's right above Immaculate Heart High School, where Meghan Markle went to high school.
Oh, funny.
And if you all know who Meghan Markle is, she married Prince Harry. And so it was at that time that I ended up meeting Lawrence Welk through a old boyfriend, and I sang for him at a country club, and he put me on the show, and I ended up singing Basque folk songs. And from there, I got my college degree in theater. I started out in music and found out that the theater majors were having a lot more fun than the music majors. And so I joined the theater department and graduated from there. Um, Singing on Lawrence Welk got me in professionally to the industry. I got an agent and I became a member of Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA. And then I went on to do 2 years on The Young and the Restless. And I was the wife of a rapist, and I was catatonic for a year. I didn't have very many lines, but I had a few audible gasps of and then I did pilots and commercials. Um, I ended up in a singing group with four of us, and we did Debbie Reynolds in Las Vegas. And then just ended up starving on the streets of Hollywood until I decided to uh, come back to Wyoming and to Colorado. And that's when I ended up marrying uh, a guy I knew in high school, Michael, and we got married and we had children. And then we traveled all over the place, which brought us years later into the Burlingame area.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I figured the drama started early. So I'm sure your interest had grew and grew, and you probably wanted to share that, wanted to do something wherever you moved. So when you arrived in Burlingame, did you find something with drama to do, or tell us a little bit about what happened?
When I was in Burlingame, and we were right on the El Camino Street. They were some condos next to the Russian Orthodox Church, and we chose Burlingame because of that street with all the trees. And we looked at it and said, yeah, that's where we want to be. Um, but I looked at Burlingame Parks and Rec's brochure, and they had no drama. And I called up the superintendent at that time, Lynn Mudo, and said, you don't have any drama. And she said, that's because we don't have a teacher.
Mm.
And I said, you do now.
Mm.
And that's when Lynn and I sat down and we talked about the kind of classes that I could teach and what was necessary in the community. And I really credit Lynn for helping me put together a program of the performing arts in Burlingame. And since then, Burlingame Parks and Rec has been so supportive and helpful to me, and have allowed me to go on with all sorts of harebrained schemes. So
Well, I'm going to show the first, well, I hope I can. Let's see here. Whoop, move along. Why can't I get this to move? One moment. Let's show our viewers, the ones that can actually see this, what you've actually done, because it is absolutely phenomenal what you've done here. So tell us a little about what you did at the Parks and Rec. I'm assuming this was Parks and Rec.
This was Parks and Rec,
Mhm.
and I created a tiny Tots theater, and then we later called it We Theater. And it is the beginnings of teaching the children the performing arts to use their imagination and their creativity. And so it was for 3 to 5 year olds. And I remember when I first started teaching there, so many of those children came in with their nannies. And I felt bad for their parents because they were not seeing how adorable these kids were and all the things that they were doing. From there, that was the 3 to 5 year olds. And then you had to look at the schools and what they needed in the schools. And somehow I hooked up with the San Francisco Shakespeare and ended up doing summer camps for 7 years old through 14. And you know what? That Washington Park is a perfect place to do Shakespeare.
Wow.
And there is that one area that has the trestles and all the roses. That was perfect for Romeo and Juliet. And for Midsummer Night's Dream. It was such a perfect setting. Um, and then it became we needed to know that there were the children needed to have after school enrichment, acting classes and musicals. And we did so much in terms of giving them that chance to perform in front of a live audience.
Mhm.
The other thing was that and if you will see, these were the Picolo Players. I also put together an acting group of adults. And we initially started out at Piccolo, and that was our very first place. And this particular production was of Sherlock Holmes. And then from the Picolo Players, we became acting out and about and did so many other plays, improvisation, one acts, Downton Abbey, which you will see later. Oh, and at the time that I was teaching at at Burlingame Parks and Rec, I was also teaching at Academy of Arts University in San Francisco. And I ended up writing a play with another woman, and it was called A Mutual Onus. It was about women and girls and the struggles that they have in developing countries. And it was performed at the Lane Room in Burlingame, and then it was also performed at Academy of Arts. It was a fundraiser for an organization called 34 Million Friends, and also for an organization called PAVE, which was for um, women against violence. And we ended up raising $5,000 for both organizations through a mutual onus. So I, and that is a picture of one of my classes at Academy of Arts, acting for commercials. It was so much fun, as I'm sure you can see by all those smiling faces, and they were all crazy and wonderful. Uh, and then from there, I ended up teaching at Spring Valley in Millbrae, at North Shoreview in San Mateo, at the Myers Learning Center. But I went to Parks and Rec, and I said, you want to go along with me on this? I'd like to do a Burlingame Idol. And they said, okay. And so I put together a Burlingame Idol that had 5 categories of the little guys, the middle schoolers, the high schoolers, the early young adults, and the old adults. Oh, they didn't want to be called old. And we did it for 7 years and had wonderful success in discovering talent. And we found there are so many children up here and the adults that went on to continue to perform. For example, we have Augustine Ortiz. His dad is Ricardo Ortiz. And we have Maya Donato standing next to him, who went on to do lots of films. I mean, there's Katie Buntick, oh, all of those people. It was just lovely. Um, I just got knocked out of this
Oh,
and
no.
hope I can get back on. Oh, okay, I'm back on. And so when Burlingame Idol ended, when American Idol ended, I ended Burlingame Idol and started Burlingame Sings. And that went on for several years. Burlingame Sings, we featured special um, genres, Broadway, the Beatles. And this gave everybody a chance to perform again. Not only we always did our performances at the community center, but then they also performed at Burlingame on the Avenue, or at that time it was called Arts Fest. And this is, and I'm pretty proud of this one. This was Sound of Music. During the summer, we would always offer a musical for 8 years old through 14. And we had time to be able to do a good musical. And because they were there for 3 weeks, Monday through Friday, and this was our production a couple of years ago of The Sound of Music. And then this was our Downton Abbey that we ended up doing at Leland T in Burlingame a couple of years ago. And we used the actual scripts from Downton Abbey. And if you will see the one lady sitting there with the black hat and the red brim, she was one of my first adult actors that when I started at Parks and Rec, she was one of my first students. You may also recognize Kiki Arnado, and um, and these other people have been with me and doing all sorts of things for a long time. We had fun with Downton Abbey. One of the things that I'm really pleased with and so happy we did was we started a little singing group at Atria, and we called them Atria's Angels. And they went along with all my silliness, and each semester, whatever it was, or each season, we did a different theme. And this particular picture, we were doing Disney songs. So, of course, that's why they all wore Mickey Mouse ears.
Great.
And they were just lovely. But of course, when COVID hit, we had to stop. And you will notice next to me is Jen's mom, and Linda and I couldn't have done it. She played the piano for us, and we sang and we had more fun. And I'm just sorry, I've seen a few of those people, but I also know that a few of these people have also passed since then in just like a short year. Makes me sad. Yeah, but that's life. One of the things that we always did in the winter um, And in the fall and in the spring, we did a show choir called Glee, and we would sing all over in Burlingame. Anyone who would let us sing, we would sing for them. We always sang for the tree lighting ceremony. And this one was taken at Ajiyoshi's, and it was this Japanese restaurant. And we just came in. We always sang at La Roca. Haji would always let us come in and sing there. And we had more fun. We had the choreography of Diane Sylvan, who did the choreography. And I have to say, we were good. We were really good. I really enjoyed that. The Chamber of Commerce had contacted me and asked me to be the local entertainment coordinator. And so I would bring my Burlingame Idol performers and Burlingame Sings and have them sing for Burlingame on the Avenue and the Arts Fest. And then we also did a cultural component where I had some basque dancers one year. And these were some Japanese dancers with their amazing costumes. We had all sorts of different cultural arts being displayed at Burlingame on the Avenue. And of course, we haven't had it for the last couple of years. So that's sad. Um, the most fun thing about Burlingame Historical was that I could get involved with doing living history. And with living history, we would take some of the historical characters in the area and portray them and do little performances. So you will see Bobby Benson is back there. She was the songbird of Freddie Cole, who was the Steve Hamilton is in front of her. He was Freddie Cole. I was Adele Verge, who was the French maid who ended up getting mad at him and shot him. And he didn't die, but he was paralyzed. And the funny thing is that we did a performance of this at the Cole Mansion while they were celebrating their centennial or something. And I went outside to get something out of my car, and my apron got stuck in the rose bushes, and I couldn't get out of the rose bushes. The wind was blowing, and I looked up, and there was a creature standing at one of the windows looking at me. I knew it was Freddie, and he was haunting me because I was portraying Adele Verge. So don't let anybody tell you there isn't the ghost of Freddie Cole at the Cole Mansion. He's there. I know it. One of the things I always belonged to, American Association of University Women. We did an awful lot with the suffragists. This was a group of singers, and again, you see Kiki Arnado, and Jan Robertson is standing next to her. She's always also from Burlingame. We ended up singing in Sacramento at the Capitol, and then we sang in San Francisco. We sang for the Burlingame Historical Society, and we were supposed to be doing this again this year when COVID hit, and our little singing group had to quit singing. So that was the end of our suffragists. It is so important to do oral history, and I really want people to take that opportunity, whether it's your mother, your father, your grandparents, to do an oral history of them. And nowadays it's so easy to do. So these are some of the oral histories that I've done. And Hal Schutte, these were the Lee sisters up on top. And I recently did Dan Dowrick, who had played Santa for the tree lighting. And he was a Santa in front of Broadway Grill. And Randy Williams, who had worked for so many years at Burlingame High School. And we met. Ray Tyler is the one who always filmed, and we would finish our oral histories and go, whoa, were they not amazing? They were so much fun. So that's the oral histories. As I said, I've always belonged to AUW. Our mission is equity for women and girls, and we do it through education and research and advocacy. This particular one was with Jackie Spear, and I think it was something to do. And next to me is Diane Sylvan, who lives in Burlingame. And we were in Redwood City with Jackie, and it was something for the ERA. And Jackie is a member of the North Peninsula branch, which is Millbrae, San Bruno, and South San Francisco.
Cathy, can you, while we're here, because I think it's one of their events that they sponsor, can you tell the group a little about Speech Trek?
Right.
Yeah.
We have had in AUW for the last 15 years now, a competition called Speech Trek. It's for all high schoolers, and they are given a topic by the state of California, AUW, and they write a 5 to 6 minute speech, memorize it, and deliver it. And then they are judged first locally and then regionally, and then the top 3 end up competing at state. And but Jan and Russ and Ann Keegren and Michael Gall, who is on the Planning Commission, have always judged for me. They have been my best judges.
Hmm.
And this year, I had a young woman from Mills High School competing, and she won the local. She went to the regional, and she ended up being one of the top 3 going to state. And I was so excited. She won first place this year at state. And the other times that I had 2 girls, another girl from Millbrae who had won second place, but I've never had a first place. And Lillian Chang won first place this year.
Can you tell the group what the topic was? I thought that was so interesting.
The topic this year
Yeah.
is, does social media help women break through the barriers? And they came up with all sorts of ideas. It's amazing what these young people think about. The one coming up this coming year is going to have an awful lot to do with social justice and education in the schools for anti-racism. So we've always got some strong topic that falls within AUW's what their mission is.
So I made a mistake and I missed a slide. So excuse me while I jump back because it's a wonderful slide. 1 second.
Okay.
There we go. That one. I didn't get to the Duncan sisters. Yeah.
Yeah. that was one of the oral histories that Kiki Arnado and I did about the Duncan sisters. And the reason that we did the Duncan sisters is that they lived in Burlingame. As a matter of fact, Diane Sylvan was taught, I think she was taught singing or dancing or something by one of the Duncan sisters. And they had a house that was down on El Camino in Floribunda. And so we put this program together and did it for the Burlingame Historical Society. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah.
All right, so let me go here. Now I'm going to go to what you did last night, I believe, or 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago.
Mhm.
And this is probably my last in this area, my last production. I was asked by the author um, of the play, We Did It For You, which is about the suffragists and all they've done and all the women who have made it possible for equity for women and girls and for women and girls to get the vote. And so we were going to do it in Sacramento for the National Women's History Alliance, but COVID broke out. We ended up rehearsing on Zoom and filmed a production of Zoom on Zoom, and that we are now showing all over to different organizations. And it features Lily Ledbetter, who was the woman from the Fair Pay Act. Um, President Obama signed into law the Fair Pay Act, which is equal pay for equal rights. I mean, equal pay for equal work. And Lily herself introduced our show, which we're very pleased to have that happen. So that's the last thing that this whole group of ladies have all been a part of my acting out and about for Burlingame Parks and Rec. And some of them have done many, many shows with me.
So before I open it up, I want to show this last slide, which is you and your family realm. So
Yeah.
maybe you can introduce your family.
Well, on the left side is my sister Mary Ann. She has since passed, and myself, and we were in our Easter outfits. But that is my family now. My husband Michael, and my daughter Rachel is in the middle, and her husband Brad. Up above Rachel is my son Patrick and his fiancee Caitlin. And this was a recent picture. It was the first time since COVID that Michael and I actually went out for dinner to a restaurant. We were outdoors, and every time the waiters came by, we masked ourselves. But this was a picture commemorating getting back out into the world.
So you're gonna, before I open it up or have Joanne open up, two questions. First of all, you are going to be going to Portland. Is that your next destination?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
somewhere in
yeah.
Portland.
Okay. So I did want to ask if you could think back on your all you've done and your any highlights, if you could just sort of surmise what was most meaningful to you.
Well, I think the exciting thing with all the classes that I've taught is discovering talent. And sometimes you can say, well, I really taught them, but no, I found them and I gave them the opportunity to perform. And one of them is Sarah Romchi, who was our first Burlingame Idol winner. And she went on to The Voice, and she was chosen by Blake Shelton and went on to compete in The Voice. The other one, and it's recent, is William Lipton. who was also part of Burlingame Sings, and he is now on General Hospital. And he's the sweetest little guy. And the character he plays on General Hospital, ooh, he's mean and ornery, but he's doing very well. It is so much fun to watch these students who end up continuing the performing arts in high school and college and afterwards. And a lot of them are in Hollywood or New York and working at it. And that's a real thrill. I just want to leave you with a story. I was watching, I think it was The Voice one night, and I was thinking, oh my God, these people are so talented and they have such beautiful voices. And my voice was never that good, even on singing on Lawrence Welk. But, and I thought, geez, why couldn't I have done more? And the next day, I got a connection with a young lady on Facebook. And she says, my dad has been trying to find you for years, and I think you are the one who sang on Lawrence Welk. And I wrote her back and I said, yes. And she said, my father came to the United States. He was Basque. He didn't know English. They ended up putting him in the army in Vietnam in the front lines. And one night he was so discouraged and was feeling so bad. And then he heard this voice singing a Basque song that he was familiar with. And he was filled with such hope of that he could go on. And he said every time that he was out there on patrol and being shot at, he remembered the singing and the song. And it was a song, Kinkiri Kunkru, that I sang on the Lawrence Welk show. And you go, you don't know when you're going to make a difference for somebody.
Right.
And since then, I've been in contact with him and his daughter, and I hope to meet him personally. And it makes it all worth it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have done so much. It's just a whirlwind and completely overwhelming. I mean, in such really a short period of time. I mean, compared to many of us here, where you got all this done and involved the community so much in so many different aspects. So we're so appreciative. I know the Parks Department is so appreciative of all you did, and it's going to be tough shoes to fill. And anyway, I wanted to open it up if anyone had comments or questions. So,
well, speaking of the Parks Department, Nicole has been patiently waiting to have her time here, so she'd like to say something.
I also loved hearing all of that history, and actually I had a couple of little things I had written down. We had the pleasure of interviewing Cathy right before COVID, and so I actually had some information from that, but Cathy covered a lot of those points. But I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Houghton. I'm a recreation coordinator with the Burlingame Parks and Rec Department. On behalf of my colleagues and the city, we just really wanted to take this opportunity to thank Cathy for her years as a contract instructor with our department. And let me know, can you hear me okay? It says my internet is unstable. Coming okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, good enough.
Okay, sorry. But I've had the personal pleasure of working with Cathy myself since 2013, but Cathy began teaching, as she mentioned, when she met with Lynn Muto, long before that, back in September of 2004. So I did want to just share, and I know Cathy had kind of mentioned the We Theater program, but she did share that the most kind of rewarding part of teaching is bringing an awareness of the arts to young minds and then watching them grow and bloom into incredible performers and continuing to watch them perform through high school, college, and thereafter. And so I kind of listening to Cathy also echo that in her discussions just now was great. And Cathy has taught a variety of classes with our department, including but not limited to what you saw tonight with the acting out and about, the Burlingame Sings, the Ye Old Fashioned radio drama, Burlingame's Glee, and a variety of musical and theater productions, and how she shared about the Wee Theater and that it was so much fun developing that age for the 3 to 5-year-olds to be able to use their imagination and just become so creative, and how they just do some of the most funny and delighted things. And so I am excited to hopefully see that program continue on. I know she's passed along a lot of her knowledge to Aaliyah Statlander, who looking forward to do some work while Cathy is no longer with us, unfortunately. But we are just so thankful, and we wish you all of the best. And thank you so much for sharing so much of who you are with myself and with Burlingame Park and Rec Department and the community as a whole. So thank you for everything that you've done for us.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Cathy. And Bobby, it looks like you're unmuted and would like to say something.
Oh, I'd always like to say something to my dear friend Cathy. Oh, will I miss you? I will miss you, and I'm not the only one. Let me tell you, maybe you discovered talent, but for those of us who remain undiscovered, you have brought us so much fun, Cathy. One thing about it, when I was part of the Picolo Players and she got me in, don't forget you did the Burlingame Centennial Play.
Oh, that's right.
That was fabulous fun. And the main thing is, for those of us who don't have any talent, we had a heck of a good time. We did. In fact, he was the one who said, Bobby, this time you're going to be a Foley artist. And I said, what? He said, a Foley artist. I didn't know what that was. It's the person who does the sounds in the background for the Picolo Players.
Oh, wow.
It was so much fun. Oh, I'll tell you, one thing about it is that, you know, whether people went on to be actors or not, we all had a really good time. So thank you for a wonderful, wonderful time, Cathy. I will miss you terribly.
Thank you, Bobby. And now Russ looks like he would like to say something.
Yes, I would. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. I'm glad Bobby mentioned the Centennial Talent Show, because that was a very large undertaking that Cathy took on really all on her own. And I just want to tip my hat, in fact, tip my top hat to her, because we had a very brief moment of fame with a few other fellows, and we called ourselves the Dancin' Hansons.
Yeah.
And she really embraced that idea, and she really did a lot of heavy lifting on that show. It was a lot. I know it was a lot of work, and I want to publicly thank her for doing that show in particular. And another thing that didn't get mentioned that was a heck of a lot of fun was she had a series of classes through the rec center for people who wanted to learn how to do voiceover work. And I know a lot of folks in the community, adults, took that class and enjoyed it very much. So thank you, Cathy, for both of those things, along with all the other things that you've done for us here in Burlingame.
Thank you.
And I know many of you are here by phone or some other way, and I've opened it up as a free-for-all. I've unmuted everybody, I think, or allowed you to unmute yourself. So if you'd like to say something, go ahead, but also be aware that we could hear you in the background.
Hi, Cathy. This is Ray Tyler.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, Cathy. I just wanted to tell you that I've really enjoyed doing the oral history series with you. We met a lot of nice people and heard some very interesting stories, and I learned a lot about the early days of Burlingame and what's going on today, and it's been a pleasure to work with you on them. Thank you so much, and you'll be missed.
Thanks, Ray. He's been fabulous to work with. We've really enjoyed our time together.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to pipe in or?
Well, it's a really, it's a big loss for us. But I think Oregon's gaining, gaining a really great citizen. And I'm jealous because I know you're going to hit the ground running there, and our loss is your gain, their gain. And you really will be missed here. And we are really appreciative, everyone, for everything you've done, every aspect, both from the Historical Society, from the Rec Center, from the community events in which you participated in and led, and all those holiday events. So I don't know how you have the energy for it. I get tired just hearing about it, but you've been just wonderful. So we really appreciate it, and wish you and your family, we're happy for your family. Everybody's I'm sure it's going to work out great. So we really appreciate it. So I guess with that, we'll end unless someone has anything else to add. And I did want to mention Bobby did a lot of your transcripts, many of them, and because they are in the people you interviewed are they exist in written form as well. No matter what happens with technology, we'll always have that, and we're very appreciative to Bobby for all of that work. I've done a couple of them now, and it's really hard. So,
and Jen, before we get off the phone, I want to have a call out to your mom too, who was Cathy's. Linda Easton was Cathy's musical accompaniment on many a visit and.
Yeah, she enjoyed it. My mom loved, you really kept her busy and she loved it. So yeah, it was really a very lovely activity she had that she appreciated. And I know
human dynamo, Cathy. It's hard to imagine anybody else having so much of an impact in one short decade.
Absolutely. So a couple of decades, but it was really short, feels like. So
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
I have something to add.
Maggie.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Cathy is one of the stars of the AAUW San Mateo branch drama reading group, which I run. And she brought so much to every script that we read. And it will be a terrible loss that I'm losing a star. and she's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maggie.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm almost crying here.
And Bobby wants to say something.
Oh, well, I didn't, but I want you to know my claim to fame is that I got Cathy in the Burlingame Historical Society. I also
did.
I did. One of the best things I ever did for the Burlingame Historical Society.
Thank you.
Also, and besides doing her transcripts from oral history, which of course I enjoyed very much. And the other thing I did was that I matched her up with Diane Sylvan, who was a dance teacher for many years in this school system. And the best thing I did was put the two of them together, and together they were a fantastic team and ended up being wonderful friends and couple friends. So
Great.
that was my pleasure.
Yay, Bobby.
Great. Well, right then. So I guess we're going to say good night and thank you, everyone. And I am going to do this transcript, which will be really interesting. So very much appreciate everyone who was able to join us tonight, and guess that's over and out, right?
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
Kathy, so
Oh,
much.
thank you for coming.
Thank you.